Welcome to the BNI Podcast. Let's start that over again. Welcome to the BNI Knox Podcast with your host, Andy Brassfield. On today's podcast episode, we have Tracy Taylor as our special guest. And we want to welcome Tracy. Tracy has been in business for 5 years. And the business name is TNT Marketing. They do marketing, online, social media management, that kind of stuff. And she's been in business for 5 years, married to Rob. They have 3 children and 1 dog. And her hobbies include reading, cooking, and football, anything the kids are involved in. And she's lived in Seymour, Tennessee for 8 years. And Tracy, I want to welcome you to the podcast this week. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Andy, for having me.
How long have you been a member of BNI?
Going into my 5th year.
Okay, going into your 5th year. And tell me about your progression into director consultant. What from member to director consultant? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, goodness. So that's a good question. I started as a member almost 5 years ago, and 2 or 3 months after I joined, I was approached to be vice president of our chapter. They said it was a unanimous decision amongst the leadership prior to me, and so I took that position. And shortly after that, our previous regional director had approached me about being a director, and I thought he was crazy. And so I kind of said that, are you sure you know me? Are you sure you want me doing all this? And it took a couple of years. And then I had a conversation, I think for 9 months, he kind of hounded me to have a one-to-one. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And finally he called one day and I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And we sat down for, I think it was 2 hours. And we really talked about, what about BNI? What does it do for your business? How can this change? What does this mean? And so I just finally said, okay. I don't know if you want to say I got hounded enough or, I had multiple people asking me about it, but I finally said, okay, fine. And so that spring, we did the next director training. And matter of fact, you were there with me. And so we started
I don't think I realized that we both went into the director program around the same time frame. That's pretty cool.
We did. It was myself and you and Tisha Albert, and then of course Susan was there with us. So we had one director and 3 new, and so I took that, and it's been that way for a couple of years now.
So, the purpose of this podcast is to serve our members, the members of the BNI Knoxville Region, Knoxville, Tennessee. And, of course, our chapters are located from Crossville to Tri-Cities. And so we want everything to be centered around our members. And that was really cool how you shared, how you went from member to vice president, and then you skipped over the ambassador role and went straight into director. So I think the message there is to let our members know that there's opportunity for growth in BNI. And currently, we do have some need on the regional team. We're short on ambassadors. We like to have an ambassador at every chapter. And we typically ask each ambassador to serve 2 chapters. Some of them just serve 1, and that's okay. But we do have some chapters that don't even have an ambassador. So that's kind of a need that we have. And then we also have a need to add some more directors to our team, and specifically launch directors to our team. So this is another opportunity in our region is for launch directors. And so I'm actually just kind of putting that out there for our members to hear because, for one, we do seek out for good members, that we might be able to invite them onto our team. But I also am open to receiving calls from members who might be interested in learning more. And then obviously we would sit down and talk about it. So members, y'all keep that in mind. If you're interested in advancing in your BNI development, and it's not just good for BNI, it's good for your business and for life in general. Would you agree to that, Tracy?
I definitely would agree with that. Being not only a member, but a part of any leadership, and I guess I would say a director or an ambassador to me would be an accelerated leadership position within BNI. It's good for you for personal and business because of the opportunity to expand your connections and introductions to people that you might need.
Yeah. What got you into BNI in the first place?
So there was a guy named David Foreman who I met through a client, actually. He did website design, and he ran into me several times at a joint meeting with my client. And one day he just told me a little bit about BNI and invited me. And it took a couple weeks for me to actually go. And I went, and then I had something on the calendar, I think a week or two, later in between. So I went back. And when I went the second time, I was approached by, I think it was 5 or 6 people in that chapter at the time about needing services. And so when I looked at the initial investment, what it could mean for my business, timing, but the fact that these people were already saying, hey, I need what you do, it just made absolute sense for me. And so I joined pretty much right then.
And tell me a little bit about your business, TNT Marketing, kind of a elevator pitch.
An elevator pitch. So TNT Marketing, our specialty is social media management and obviously the marketing side of it. So what I do for clients is I help them with every aspect of their business being social online. Me, however you want to say it. I do, anything. I do Facebook, I do LinkedIn, I do Google+, I do Instagram, I do Twitter, anything that they need from profile setup to, I have things set up, but I just don't want to post or I don't have time. And then the marketing side of it, what I do specializes and helps people with SEO reach, because social media is a fantastic form of SEO. And then I do.
Okay, everybody doesn't know what that means, right? SEO.
SEO.
What is that?
So it's so search engine optimization, and what that means is it helps people find your business when they look you up on Google. So that's pretty much a great way to describe SEO.
Mm-hmm. How'd you happen to get into this business of social media management and marketing?
I kind of fell into it by default. I worked for a company it was a marketing company, and they worked with speakers, coaches, trainers, and consultants, and it was a sales position. And when I was calling these people, they wouldn't call me back, and a frequent thing I was hearing was, well, I don't find you on LinkedIn. I don't find you here. I don't find you there. And I'm like, what is this stuff you're speaking of? And so I would dive into it in the evenings and on the weekends, and I created a profile, and I started sharing things about our company. And before too long, I had the highest return rate in the office amongst 6 salespeople, and that's all that we had. We had 6 of us doing sales. And people, how come your phone's ringing? I mean, I would come in on Mondays and have 10 voicemails. I would come in every day, and I would have things done, because what I started doing was, if you didn't call me back during the week on Friday, because Friday for me has always been follow-up Friday, I would take and connect with these people on LinkedIn and send them a message. And so they started figuring out that, who we were and what our company was. And when I started doing that, it just led me into something that I really liked and believed in, and decided a couple of years later that business owners probably needed help. And so therefore TNT Marketing was born.
What kind of message did you send people who didn't call you back? When you connected with them on LinkedIn, you sent them a message and ultimately you got a lot of callbacks. What message were you sending them?
I said, I left you a voicemail, and I would leave a little description and then saying I look forward to speaking with you very soon, and I would sign my name and then put my phone number again so they could call me back. Because when you use InMail through LinkedIn as a sales tool, it comes up in their email, because you can send people an email, and oftentimes it will sometimes go to spam, and so they may not get it for a week or two or three, or it just gets deleted. But when somebody has a profile set up on LinkedIn, their email is already addressed with LinkedIn, so all of the messages through InMail, automatically you get a notification on your website, or on, not really your website, but on your desktop. And then if you have the app, it comes up as a notification, but you also get an email when somebody has sent you a message. So it's a secure way, and it's definitely a higher return rate on your messages. So InMail is a great tool that people don't think about using.
Do you have to be on a paid LinkedIn to use InMail? Or does it work also on the free?
It absolutely works on the free. There are some benefits if you have a paid profile. I don't suggest using a paid profile. I mean, I'm not going to pay an extra $50 or $75 a month to be able to send messages. You can send more per month if you're on a paid profile, but oftentimes if you're not going through and randomly just sending out messages, you can send more than enough on a free profile to benefit your business.
Yeah. So it's not like you're doing your entire marketing, outreach on LinkedIn. You were using it to supplement, people, and the fact that people were looking you up on LinkedIn from your voicemail message that you left them. That's kind of a new one on me. And now, I mean, I do that sometimes. If I've got somebody that, not necessarily somebody that's left me a message, but say it's somebody that I've got their business card, or I see their name on a visitor list, or somehow maybe they might be a prospect. Well, yeah, a lot of times I'll go on LinkedIn or Google, and type in their name. And if they do have a LinkedIn profile, then I'll land there. So how would you compare, or would you have a recommendation for BNI members related to LinkedIn? In other words, do you recommend that BNI members have a LinkedIn profile?
Absolutely. And I recommend that as part of in your profile, as part of your current job, that you list that you're a BNI member.
Okay, now I like that. I'm going to grab a hold of that one. I've done it before. I've been on LinkedIn for more years than I can count right now. I don't remember how many years they've been in existence, but I'm thinking 10.
It's been over 10 because I started my profile originally in 2009. Yeah. So I think I've been on LinkedIn somewhere around that amount of time. Now, I'm not real active over there, but I do receive connection requests and messages, and sometimes I'll send messages. I literally had a meeting this week with a BNI prospect, someone who's going to visit one of our chapters next week. And I asked him for his business card, and he says, "Oh, they're being printed." And I'm like, "Whoa, what?" Now I don't have his business card. I don't, and well, we ended up, that same day, we ended up connecting on LinkedIn later on, right? And so ever since then, we've been exchanging messages on LinkedIn, and it's working just fine. So we do recommend for our members to get on LinkedIn, and there's going to be some similarities between your LinkedIn profile and your BNI Connect profile, right? I mean, there's some commonalities here. One of the most important, in my opinion, and I'm kind of asking Tracy, you tell me if you agree or not, is to have a photo, a headshot photo, right? Yes. Photos are so important on social media across the board, because we think about something. If you only are connected with somebody on a social profile, and then you set up a coffee meeting with them, okay, and all you've seen is their profile. When you walk into that meeting, you're looking for that person. So you want to make sure that your photo is current and that it does look like you. One of the worst mistakes ever is to have a profile that's, 10 plus years old and they go, oh, well, I didn't have gray hair. Well, that's nice, but now that I'm looking for you in a business setting or a public place, I'm looking for this person that's on and you don't even look the same. So you don't want that
and the average
face of, whoa.
The average person, in addition to gray hair that they didn't have before, probably going to be a little bit thicker than they were before. I mean, every 10 years, our shape changes just a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Most of us.
Yeah, it
I know
does.
you work out.
It does.
You work out and you're into fitness, so maybe that doesn't affect you like it does me. I don't know.
You'd be surprised. It still does. It's okay.
Yeah. So tell me, how has BNI impacted your business and your life?
Well, the relationships that I have made through BNI have been undescribable, and I wouldn't have a lot of those relationships if it weren't for BNI. And that some of them are personal, some of them are business, and some of them are both. And so knowing that I have that connection with those people, I mean, if something happens, you can text somebody or call somebody, and it could be business or pleasure. You pick up the phone and they're there for you no matter what because they want to take that. And it's the same vice versa. I mean, it's an amazing situation with the relationships that you form. But on a business side, speaking that we're into January and a lot of people are looking at numbers for taxes and things like that, I want to say the last calculation that I had, and I double checked a few numbers the other day, but BNI is responsible for about 72 to 74% of my annual revenue. And that's a really strong number. But what I like to tell people is one of the things you hear is you need a residual income. You have residual bills, you should have residual income. BNI kind of makes that happen for people because once you develop those relationships and you gain those clients within BNI, we don't leave each other because of just the relationship and the trust and the value that we give each other. And so that is priceless. I can't put a number on that. And that's something that when people ask me, how do you do your business? I'm like, BNI. that's what I do. And they, oh my goodness.
Is there any conflict in the thought of you market your business with BNI and yet you're selling business marketing services? Do you see that as a compliment or a conflict?
I see it as a compliment because I'm telling you how to go meet more people and how to not have to do cold calls, but I'm also showing you that when you're in BNI and say you have a service like myself, you are giving your people, your sales and marketing team, a way to share what you do and grow your business and your referrals and your contacts and your connections. Mm-hmm. So I would never see it as a conflict.
So in other words, and it's probably going to vary from business industry to industry, it's some people will use exclusively one avenue, such as BNI. I know business owners in BNI, they're members of BNI, and they will just use BNI as their marketing system, and they don't need anything else apparently. They've been very successful by just using the system, but social media is one of those things that you can add on. You can kind of do both. I know that Dr. Ivan Meisner, the founder of BNI, he's really heavily involved in social media, and I've listened to his podcast, the official BNI podcast, for years. And he from time to time will do an episode, talking about social media and whether or not to use it or how to use it. It's not really whether or not to, it's really more how. For example, there's often this question, we kind of get this question frequently especially from new members, but I've seen this in meetings, you probably have too, where a member will say, we've got a Facebook page, and if you'll like the Facebook page, then that'll count as a referral. Do you really believe that's a referral, Tracy?
I do believe that's a referral, and I'll tell you why. I believe it's a referral because it's a referral back to BNI. And I believe that because whenever you like a page on Facebook, it shows up in your personal news feed. So if you have 343 people that you're friends with, they all just saw that page. And you never know who's going to say from that, oh, what's that BNI thing all about? Or every week when you check in at BNI, for instance, today when I checked in to BNI at my chapter, I took a picture of my name tag and had a drink sitting there, and our roster was there. It's not, a super clear, it's a good picture, but I don't zoom in on anything. And I wanted it to be there of my placemat. And so I took a picture and I said, Tuesday equals BNI. I did the fire emoji, and then I tagged my business page, but then I checked in at my chapter page because people always say, hey, what's that about? Oh, well, you should come visit with me. You should come, let me show you how this benefits my business, and you'll get a visitor out of it, which is absolutely a referral to BNI. But when somebody calls me and says, do you know A? And I say, oh, yeah, I have a business partner that does that, they know where I'm getting it from. So, yes.
I've had this conversation before with other chapter leaders. And by the way, I know that you're on the phone and you're not able to see my screen, which is shared. But I am on the Blunt Business Professionals Facebook page, and I'm looking for that picture. You said you tagged your chapter or checked in at your chapter?
No, it's on my personal page. Not Blunt Business Professionals, but that way you could see, because it shows that I checked in there. And there's my picture. And
is it okay if I go to your personal page?
Personal page? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I didn't know if you had, any privacy settings or anything that you might be concerned about.
Not with what I do for business. It's public.
Okay. There it is. Nice. Yeah. You've updated your logo at some point, I believe.
I updated my logo 2 years ago with David Furman, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'm just behind the times. I don't know. But yeah, and you're drinking some kind of energy drink, it looks like.
It's a new one that we found at the gym, and
so this is something.
But I do.
I do want to get back to the question. Okay, I'm sidetracking you for a minute, but this is something that we really want to promote with our members, isn't it? And that is number one, at your weekly chapter meeting, open Facebook and check in to your chapter. Explain now, checking in to your chapter.
Okay, so if your chapter has a Facebook business page, when you go to make a public post, you can say something about your business, which I would highly recommend because you want to give your business a little tag. But sometimes you just want to say I'm at BNI. Maybe that generates a message or a text or a phone call later. But I always tag my business page. But if you go to the bottom, it'll say check in. And if you click that button and your chapter has a Facebook business page to it, it automatically pops up. And you just click check in, and it just does what it did at the top of mine, which is Tracy Taylor is checking in at, and it'll say BNI Blunt Business Professionals. And that just lets people know that I'm going there. This is what I'm doing. I mean, I have trained, I think, my whole universe to know that Tuesdays from 11:30 to, well, really 11 to 1, I'm unavailable. My parents know it. My husband knows it. My kids know it. My friends know it. And so it's just blocked off in my calendar. And, the craziest thing happened when I switched BNI chapters, because my day of the week changed and so did my time. And that was a transition for my little universe. But once everybody knows, they expect that post. Maybe somebody from my chapter will comment on it or something will happen. Not all the time, but sometimes. But, that lets the amount of people that I'm connected to on Facebook know I'm a part of BNI, whether they're in my city, in my state, in my town, out of state, out of country. The world, my universe knows on Tuesdays from 11 to 1, I'm at BNI.
And this is partly because you've made it a habit to make a post, a check-in type of a post, with a picture, and I saw some of the photos, sometimes it's you with other members, this time, you've got this really cool with your table tent name tag or, and the roster. It's really neat how you position that. So you've got an eye for photography, you're a creative style, and so you'll have an eye for that kind of stuff. And what if a member is trying to follow your advice and they don't see a business page for their chapter when they click on check-in?
Ask leadership. And if that's an issue, then have somebody in their leadership team message me or you, and you can get them in touch with me, and we can set one up for them.
Yeah. So, and I guess, I don't know if we would call it official or unofficial, but you're kind of like the region's social media guru. And I'll go ahead and give the testimonial now. You run the region's Facebook page, as well as my business Facebook page, and you do a great job with it, and so definitely if a member's chapter does not have a Facebook page, then approach the leadership team. And some of our chapters have designated a chapter webmaster, I think isn't that what we still call it, a chapter webmaster?
There is a webmaster, and then there's also just a social media person. So usually it's somebody in the tech industry that runs the page.
I'm thinking about on BNI Connect, there are specific titles, one of them is communications coordinator. But I just don't remember if they've done away with the chapter webmaster or if that's still on that team. But sometimes a chapter will designate someone as one or both of those positions, and that person can reach out to Tracy or me, and we will help to get a Facebook page set up for the chapter. And we do want Tracy to be involved because we've had situations in the past where a chapter will go out on their own and create a Facebook page for the chapter, and it's beautiful and it works and they use it, and then life happens to the member that was the admin or the creator of that page, and that person moves away or changes careers or something. They're no longer a part of the chapter. And suddenly nobody else in the chapter knows how to take control of that Facebook page. So if we involve Tracy, then that shouldn't happen, right?
It should not. Worst case, you need to have the password, or you probably don't want to be made an admin of every page that we have. But if it's a chapter that we're, maybe somebody's not comfortable with it, or they don't have a social media person in there, or their tech side is a little low, I can always create the page as me. And I don't see me leaving BNI for anything on the planet. But if I did leave for some reason, which I don't see it, but I could always make you the official admin because I know how to cross ownership on a page. That's an easy thing to do. So I can always make a page, make somebody in that chapter an admin. Or a good example is my old chapter, which I created and built the page under my personal profile. I still run that page for them. They don't do a whole lot with it right now because they're a smaller chapter, but I do still post for them. And that way, that chapter page is never lost in the shuffle. So we can always make sure that happens.
Yeah, that's good. So reach out to Tracy if your chapter needs help with that. But try to make it a new habit to check into your chapter on Facebook. I know that I've done that from time to time over the years. And one of the things that that I did for a little while, well, probably more than a little while. One of the things that I did pretty regularly was I would take a selfie with another member of the chapter, somebody that I could give a good testimonial for. So this is somebody that I've done business with, or I've done referrals with them, and I knew that I could give a bona fide testimonial. And for example, I took a selfie with Irving Rosenblum, very trusted insurance representative, very trusted.
He's awesome.
And yeah. And so, took a selfie with him, and then, I tagged him in the photo, checked in at the chapter, and then said, something about Irving and insurance. So that was one of the things that I did, and I was really happy with the feedback, and there was a lot of crossover among connections in LinkedIn, where when I tagged him in my photo, it showed up on his feed where his friends were seeing it, in addition to my feed where my friends were seeing it. And if you had somebody that was friends with him but not friends with me, and they liked his photo, then there's another potential connection there. So it's all about connecting people, and social media is a great tool. Now let me get back to this question that I've had this conversation with various people at different times for different reasons about the question, does a Facebook like count as a referral? And Tracy, you said that you thought it did. You're saying yes, but I'm here to tell you there's another train of thought. There's another way of looking at it where some people are going to say no, I don't think that a Facebook like equals a referral. And let me kind of explain why somebody might feel that way. If I liked your page, or shared a photo or whatever it is that you said, and then I turn that into the chapter as a referral, does it meet the definition of a referral? A definition of a referral is an opportunity to do business with someone who is in the market to buy your product or service. So when we do a like, there's no one necessarily in the market to buy the product or service. Any feedback on that train of thought, Tracy?
I think it depends on, I think it's situational, because sometimes somebody is saying that it counts as a referral because they're looking for that specific activity on their business page. So if it's a new business page, a like, a comment, or a share may be what they're looking for that week. It's no different to me than saying, you can hand me a lead, and if I get it, then, because some people want leads.
Yeah.
Some people they won't talk to anybody, but it does depend on what that person needs and specifically is looking for that week.
So here's the caution that I would offer along with this concept. If you're asking for a referral by liking your Facebook page, and so your chapter counts that as a referral, that actually brings down the average value of a referral, both for the giver of the referral and for the chapter as a whole. So if you're in a 25-member chapter and 25 people like your Facebook page and turn in a referral, you basically have 25 referrals that came into your numbers that don't really have an opportunity to do business attached to them. And ultimately, those referrals will lead to zero on the thank you for closed business, and it will bring down the average value of your referrals. So I'd like to offer the suggestion that we might consider these leads instead of referrals. And a lead is not something that we track in the organization. We don't have a checkbox on the Palms report for leads. but we still allow the members to ask for leads. And here's another example that's really, really similar to this. If you ask your chapter to take a picture of a FSBO sign, in other words, a for sale by owner, in the front yard of someone's home, they're selling their house, and the realtor in the chapter may ask for those, and they might even call them referrals. If you see a FSBO, take a picture, give me the address, and I'll count that as a referral. But I'd like to recommend that we count these types of things as leads and reserve counting them as referrals until there's actually a business opportunity attached to it. So in other words, if I liked your page and somebody did business with you because I liked your page, or if I took a picture of a FSBO and sent you, the realtor, the address and phone number, and that person does business with the realtor, then the realtor should say, hey, turn that in as a referral. I did business, and I'm gonna attribute the thank you for closed business to you. So so that's really a good conversation to have on social media. And I'd like to add that Dr. Meisner has done some specific episodes, at least one anyway, on the very topic of is a Facebook like equivalent to a referral. So I encourage you to go out onto the official BNI podcast and look for that episode with Dr. Ivan Meisner. And Tracy, we're just about out of time. There's a couple more things that I did want to ask you. Do you have any memorable, what's the most memorable thing that you've seen happen in BNI, whether this be a referral or whether this be a creative moment? What's the most memorable thing that stands out that you can think of that you've seen in your experience in BNI?
Oh, goodness. There's probably 10 or 15, but one of the things that we talk about, one of the things that we talk about the most is, do you get good referrals? Do you do this? So last year I took a phone call one afternoon from a friend who was in BNI, life changed. She stepped out, but it turned into me now having a client in Australia. And so when you talk about the power of BNI and the power of connections and relationships and networking, she and I built a relationship over a year's worth of time, and we did business together, both with each other, but through, our connections and our chapters that crisscrossed. But I would have never had the opportunity to even speak to that person if it wasn't for her. And people don't think about that. That referral was worth a year's worth of membership for me anyway. And so for me, that's probably one of my favorite stories to tell.
So it's not about who's in the room. It's about who they know. It's not just about who they know. It's not just about who they know, but how well they know them and how well they know you. All right. But then let's take it one step farther. It's also about who they used to know and who they will know in the future.
Right.
So I love that. I love that. Was there anything else that you wanted me to ask, but maybe I didn't, or anything that you wanted to add before we close this up?
I would just say, for me, I always do free consultations. So if anybody ever has a question, I'm just a phone call or a text message or an email away. And no question is ever stupid, because I get that all the time. I'm going to ask you a really dumb question. It's not dumb. You got to ask it to know what you're getting at. So I do those for BNI members, and I do them for non-BNI members.
And if somebody needs any help locating you, first of all, I would recommend go to BNIKnox.com and click on members. And then on the search bar down there, just type in Tracy Taylor, and Tracy's contact information will be right there. So this is public. You don't even have to be logged into BNI Connect to do this. So if you want to reach out to Tracy, You can find her there. You can also find her in BNI Connect, or you can find her on social media. And so, Tracy, before we close out, let's talk about some announcements, some things that are coming up. Our next podcast is going to be recorded on January the 23rd, 2019 at 3 o'clock with Carl Liebert. And Carl is another director on our team. He's a business advisor. He's really got some unique experience that he's able to bring to his clients, and really excited about having him on the podcast next week. And we have a member success program. The class is February the 12th. The next one is February the 12th. And we highly encourage our members to attend member success program both online and in person. The in-person is so much different from what you get online. They're both good. All right, so that's why we recommend them both. They're both good. They come at you from different angles. The classroom version, you get to interact with members from other chapters, and we often see referrals happening. We very often see members having cross-chapter one-to-ones, so that's phenomenal. And then, of course, the instructors are able to bring real-life stories and bring your BNI membership to life, so we encourage you to do that. Of course, required for new members and encouraged once a year for existing members. And the International Networking Week is an initiative of BNI that is the first full week of February every year. So we're just now a few weeks away from International Networking Week, and we're having a special contest, I think you'd call it, for International Networking Week, and this is going to be chapter versus chapter, kind of a contest. So first of all, International Networking Week, like I said, is an initiative of BNI. This is an opportunity for us to expose our clients and our connections to networking, and to expose them to our network of people so they can make more contacts and more connections. And so we really want you to invite your clients and your connections to visit your BNI chapter. And this is just to expose them to networking. We're not suggesting that you are, pressure them into joining or applying for membership or hey, you need to come and consider BNI. That's not it at all. We just want to expose people to networking our way and let them see the value that they can get just from being connected, whether they join or not. And to incentivize our members for this particular event, we want to have a contest. What we're going to do is we're going to track the number of visitors per member for each chapter that week. So let me be specific. It's the first full week of February. That's February the 4th through the 8th. So at your weekly chapter meeting that week, you want to get your chapter to bring as many visitors as possible. Now, please bring bona fide visitors. If they're a member of another BNI chapter, they don't count. For example, if they're your underage child that's just going to come and sit with you, they don't count. So we're asking you to be professional and don't fluff the numbers with fake visitors, but bring bona fide visitors, and we're going to try to make it as fair as possible. The chapter that has the most visitors per member, we're going to buy dinner for every member of that chapter. So that's so exciting. I'm really excited about that. Tracy, I hope your chapter has tons of visitors that week. Maybe you all might end up winning the dinner. And again, that's dinner for the whole chapter. What this is going to look like, Tracy, is we're going to have dining certificates, $25 value for every member of the chapter, not necessarily all at the same location. And these are sit-down restaurants in our local communities. And so they're good quality places to eat. You can take a spouse or a date and have a night out, or you could even try to coordinate something with other chapter members. Y'all might choose to do something together, but you don't have to. So, Tracy, it's really been a pleasure having you on here. We always seem to have plenty to talk about when we get together. So.
Always.
So thanks again, and this is Andy Brassfield, the Executive Director for BNI Knoxville, Tennessee, and we're signing off for the BNI Knox Podcast. Hope to see you here next time, and have a great day.
Perfect.